Hi there. We talked today in class about solving multi-step inequalities. And so I've picked two here from your homework to demonstrate what we learned. We did add to our directions to graph. So when you first read the instructions, they don't tell you to graph, but that is a step that we need to be able to do in this class. So we are going to graph our inequalities as well. And so a couple of notes here for you before we actually jump into solving the problem. When you see a equal to, right, so less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, your hole on your graph is going to be a closed hole. If you see just a greater than or a less than, those ones will be open. And the reason for that is when we see the equal to as part of our inequality, our answer is going to be included in our possible solutions. And inequality, remember, indicates several different solutions, right? Not just one value x could equal, but multiple values x could equal. And so with that equal symbol, we want to include the number we've started at, because that number that we started at will be the one that literally makes the two sides of my inequality the same, equal. Right? And so we fill in the dot indicating that that point is a solution. With the non-equals inequality, we do an open hole saying that that number that we're starting our inequality at is not included in our solution set, because we need our inequality to be greater than or less than and not equal to. The two sides can't be equal to each other, and so we don't want to include that first point, because that first point makes the two sides equal. Okay, and we'll look at what that means in a bit here. Okay, so with number 4, we are given 12 is greater than 60 minus 6t, and I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this down here just so I can work with it. And I'm going to be looking to isolate that variable. And the steps here are very similar to solving a two-step equation. Okay, so when I'm looking here, I see the 60 is attached to the t through addition or subtraction. In this case, this is a positive 60. And so I'm going to undo that positive 60 by subtracting 60. We're going to do that to the other side as well. Okay, 12 minus 60 is negative 48. Bring down that symbol, bring down negative 16. When the negative 6 is attached to the t like that, that's through multiplication when they sit side by side. So to undo multiplication, I'm going to divide by negative 6. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And so this is the one piece in solving an inequality that is different than solving an equation. Because negative 48 divided by negative 6 is positive 8. But because I have multiplied by a negative, that sign is going to switch the way it faces. Okay? And that's going to happen anytime if you multiply by a negative or divide by a negative. Adding or subtracting is fine, but if you multiply by a negative or divide by a negative like we've done here, that sign is going to need to switch spots, switch ways it's facing. Okay, so we have here 8 is less than t, which is the same thing, by the way, as t is greater than 8. Right, I can flip the entire inequality. If you prefer the t in front like that, that's fine, right? The sign is still facing the t when I flip it. And so then we're going to be graphing here. And I typically opt for 2 or 3 numbers on either side of my solution. Well, in this case, this actually isn't a solution, but on either side of my starting number. So I'm going to go 9, 10, 7, 6. And in this case, this is not a greater than or equal to. This is just a greater than. And so this hole is going to be an open hole, indicating that 8 isn't a possible solution. I can't plug in 8 here. 8 is not greater than 8. Right? And so 8 is not a solution, so I don't fill it in. But all of these numbers greater than 8 are, and so that's how you draw that in. You draw an arrow pointing towards the right-hand side, because all the numbers to the right could be plugged in here. Like 9 could be plugged in, and 9 would be greater than 8. Okay. On number 5, Similar process. We're going to go ahead and isolate the k. Let's distribute that 4 in. We have 4k plus 8 minus 3k is less than or equal to 12. I have some common terms here. 4k minus 3k is k. Bring down that plus 8, less than or equal to 12. And this 8 is attached to the k through addition, so I'm going to break that addition by subtracting from both sides. I'm going to get k is less than or equal to 12 minus 8 is 4. And in this case, that sign does not switch sides because I did not divide by a negative, I did not multiply by a negative. If I divide or multiply by a negative, the sign has to switch sides, right? In this case, we subtracted 8, we're good to go, we've got our answer. When it comes to the graph, go ahead and go 4, and then let's do 2 on either side, 5, 6, 3, 2. And in this case, we do have less than or equal to, meaning that this 4, that's my starting point, I'm going to do a closed hole because 4 is a possible solution. I could plug in 4 here, and 4 is less than or equal to 4, right? 4 is equal to 4, and so that's a possible solution, so I fill in that hole. So are all the numbers to the left. 3 could get plugged in, and 3 would be less than 4. And so that's how you solve multi-step inequalities.